You are loved with an everlasting love. That's what the Bible says. And underneath are the everlasting arms. Jesus said, "Come to me, all whose work is hard, whose load is heavy, and I will give you relief. Bend your necks to my yoke and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble-hearted, and your souls will find relief, for my yoke is good to bear, and my load is light." This is your friend, Elisabeth Elliot, talking today, to my great delight, with my daughter, Valerie Shepard. She's from Mission Viejo, California, and as most of you know, I live in Massachusetts, so we don't see nearly as much of each other as we'd like to.
No, we don't.
But I'm delighted that you're here, Val, and I've asked Val to talk about subjects that are close to her heart, since she is the mother of a family which is getting larger. Tell us about your children, Val.
We have 6 children, and we're expecting number 7 at the end of December. Our oldest one is a boy, Walter. He's 14. The next one is Elisabeth, 12. The next one is Christiana, 9.5. The next one is Jim, 7. And the next one is Colleen, 5. And the youngest is Evangeline, 2.5.
And I'm sure that occasionally you get raised eyebrows if you take all the children somewhere to a restaurant or a grocery store or something.
Mm-hmm.
Any remarks ever made to you? Any questions asked?
Oh, yes. There was one lady who said to me, "They can't be all yours." And I said, "Yes, they are." And she said, "Well, you can't be living in California then." And I said, "Yes, I am living in California." And she said, "Well, then your husband must make a lot of money." And I said, "Well, no, not really." And she said, "Well, yes, he does." And I said, "No, he doesn't, but the Lord provides for us." And the lady just became indignant and said, "No, he really doesn't. You have to think about their education and their clothing. You just can't have a big family in California."
And you didn't realize that, did you? Nobody
No.
told you that you weren't supposed to have a big family in California. When people say to you, "How in the world do you cope?" what is your answer?
Well, I usually just say, "The Lord is my strength. The Lord is my help." And He really is.
Do you ever actually have people asking you straight out, why do you have such a big family? Are you Catholic, Mormon, or careless? I've actually heard that some people do ask questions like that.
I haven't been asked if we were careless, but I have been told you must be either Catholic or Mormon. And I say, "No, we're Presbyterian," and they look surprised. If somebody were to actually say, "Why in the world do you have so many children?" I would just say, because I believe children are a blessing from the Lord, and I've always wanted to have a big family.
The next question that people are always asking me about you, and let me say that whenever people ask me, "Well, what's become of your daughter Valerie?" Of course, I say she's married to a minister in Southern California, and they are expecting their 7th child. 7 children! That is almost the invariable reaction. My goodness! Well, how old is she? And oh my goodness, she's been having them fast. Well, no, they're all at least 2 years apart, and I think there's 2.5 years between some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then Christian women will sometimes say to me with a very earnest and sobered look, "Would your daughter say that you have to have all the children that it's biologically possible to have?"
No, I would not say that. I believe God gives us the desires of our hearts, and I really think God probably puts a desire in certain women's hearts to have large families. And I've trusted all along that as with each child that the Lord gave me, He would give me more and more strength and grace and patience for each one. And a lot of times people say, "You must be a very special person," or "You must have an awful lot of extra patience." And I would just answer, no, probably not more than what most people have, but with each one, the Lord gives more grace. And so I'm thankful for each one, and there have been times during some of my pregnancies when I thought, I just don't think I can handle one more little one. But I also know that the years from 0 to 2 are very short and fast, and this too shall pass, and the Lord brings more and more joy as they grow up.
Do you think that a lot of women are governed primarily by fear?
Yes.
And not wanting to have
absolutely
more than one or two children?
Absolutely.
And what are they afraid of?
Well, I know of several women who are scared to death of the pregnancy itself because they had 2 very bad pregnancies, uncomfortable pregnancies. They don't want to go through that again. Then I know of others who just are so project-oriented that they want to spend time on their projects and not on children. So 2 is enough for them. Also, they're afraid of what may happen to their bodies as they have more and more children, less and less shape. And they're afraid of the cost, education, and they're afraid that they won't have the patience or the kindness that they think they ought to have. And I found most often the fewer children the mother seems to have, the less patience they seem to have with them. So I believe the Lord gives more and more patience with each one.
That's a very interesting observation, and maybe they're doing it in their own strength, thinking, well, I can manage 2 kids, and they're not managing very well, really. Mm-hmm. Whereas you know you can't handle 7 children.
Right.
And you have to be doing what?
Have to be depending on the Lord moment by moment, daily, just asking for His strength and His wisdom and His love to flow through me.
May I ask, Val, if you've read your great-great-grandfather's book on hints for child training?
Yes, I have. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
And one of the things that interested me about this book, and the title of the book is Hints on Child Training, and the author is Henry Clay Trumbull, Trumbull. He happens to be Valerie's great-great-grandfather. And he had 8 children, 4 of whom I remember very well. 5 of whom, I remember 4 of my great aunts and my grandmother and my great uncle as well. I guess that makes 6, doesn't it? One of the things that I thought was particularly helpful in that book, and the whole book is just wonderful, even though it was written 100 years ago, would you say it's relevant
yes,
to today?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Very relevant. He's not rigid in his rules, and when he said he was asked for theories or rules for child training, he said, I don't have any theories and I don't have any rules. I've always tried to do the thing that seemed to be best at the time.
There are times when I know that some discipline is needed and I have to inwardly pray, Lord, show me exactly what I should say and do right now, because I'm not quick to think of consequences. Often the spanking is the easiest punishment, and usually for younger children under 8 or 7, it's the immediate punishment. But there are times with my older ones that I know that I should have a punishment, and I have to just pause and ask God inside, what should I do now for this disorderly conduct? Usually it's taking them aside to a different room and trying to talk quietly to them and asking them if they believe that's what would be pleasing to the Lord. And as we talk, I think usually the Lord gives wisdom slowly but surely.
Well, the mother of 7 children, we're going to be talking again about discipline and responsibilities and children's jobs and lots of interesting things that Val has agreed to talk with me about on these programs. Back to this question of how many children one should have, and you did make the remark of something about spacing children?
Yes. I have wanted to space my children approximately every 2 to 3 years. The only pregnancy that I remember being quite upset about because I hadn't spaced it exactly the way I wanted it was the 5th one that was coming along. And I remember when my 4th one was a baby saying, I want to wait until this one is 3 years old before I have another one. Well, the Lord saw fit to give us another one before Jim was 3, and within a month or 2 after I found out I was pregnant, I was happy with it and accepted God's timing. And I knew that God's timing was absolutely the best, and He knows what's best for me, so I accepted it. In our own wisdom, we think we know pretty much what's best, but we do have to ask God continually what He wants of us. And I believe because God gave me the desire to have a lot of children that He's given me exactly what I've wanted. according to His will, and His will has been perfect for us.
Well, thanks so much, Val. We'll be talking again with my daughter, Valerie Shepard.
That was Planning for Family Life, Part 1, with Valerie Elliot Shepard, Elisabeth's daughter.